As you know, our nation and our state are facing some great fiscal challenges. Spending is out of control, and both our president and our governor are seeking new and interesting ways to take your money and put it in their pockets. But there is another way to address these challenges. You could actually control spending. You could set tough budget priorities. You could watch out for taxpayers. The mayor of Manchester has been doing just that the past several years, after year after year after year of annual tax increases under Bob Baines. I don't know about you, I think we could use that kind of leadership in Congress. Mayor Franken.
Thank you very much, Grant. Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing? Glad to be here on such a beautiful day, inside on a June day. But it's great because Republicans are getting together, and I think we are now getting together much more so than we ever have, because we feel, I think, more than ever, a responsibility to not only take back our local governments, our state government, but our federal government. In the course of the last several months, things have certainly changed in America. And I don't believe that any of us think that the changes are for the better. So over the course of the last several months, I have looked at the options and opportunities before me. I have spent time with my wife, Morgan, and family and friends, talking about how we can continue to serve our state. For the last 8 years, I have served our state as a state representative, as an alderman from Manchester, and for the last 4 years as its mayor. And it has been a great honor to serve our state. It has been a very humbling experience at times. It has been a very difficult decision and service at times. Never has it been more difficult when you have 2,500 people in an auditorium at a budget hearing complaining because you want tax cuts. Complaining because you want accountability and efficiency in government. When you see a sea of red shirts representing unions standing before you, taking the microphone for 6 consecutive hours, telling you that you're not a good person because you don't want to spend more money. It's not easy. Leadership is not easy. But it's required and demanded amongst the silent majority. So back in 2005, when I was a 2-term alderman and a 2-term state rep, I did put my name on a ballot to run for mayor. At the time, many of you may know that we had a popular 6-year Democrat incumbent, and nobody said that Frank Guinta could run. Many of my friends, many Republicans said, Frank, you can't win. But I focused on what I believed in, and I focused in what I thought Manchester needed. And there were 2 basic things that I talked about. I talked about the 6 years that we had of consecutive tax increases, and I talked about the 6 years of increases in violent crime in our city, the state's largest city. And to me, that was unacceptable. To me, as a father of 2 young children, that was unacceptable. To me, as a former state legislator, it was unacceptable. And to me, as someone who wanted to see Manchester prosper and lead not just New Hampshire, but northern New England, it was unacceptable. So I embarked on a campaign that talked about a combination. And if you remember, it was 655-3, 6 years of tax hikes, 55% increase in violent crime, and 3 failing high schools. Well, that campaign, I'm proud to say, with a lot of help from grassroots supporters, average everyday citizens, on election night was victorious. And we embarked for the next 4 years on providing budgets that were smaller than the year before, that cut taxes, that brought efficiency to government, that cut the crime rate, that increased our accountability in our school system, that made Manchester a leading city, that made Manchester the pride of New Hampshire. And I was at many times at odds with a majority of the board of aldermen. That's because we had 12 Democrats on that board out of 14. But we still were able to get the first tax cut passed in a decade in the state's largest city. Something that people said we could not do. Well, we have that problem again, not just at our state level, but at our federal level. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last 3 months, you have seen our federal government take over the banking industry, the auto industry. It is now embarking tomorrow on taking over the healthcare industry, forcing Americans each and every day to have less choice, less direction of their lives, and less opportunity to dictate their children's future. That is simply wrong. It's not Republican, but beyond that, it's not American. And we as a nation have two choices. We can sit back and we can let it happen, or we can fight for a cause that we believe in. We can articulate a message together that says this is enough. And we believe in a limited government, a government that is accountable to the people, a government that is governed by the people. How many of you have heard in the last 6 months about the number of czars that are now running our country? Each and every week we hear of a new czar, an unelected official who is accountable to the Democratic Party for what they want to choose for our government. That is not America. It is not what we espouse as Americans, and it's certainly not what we want here in New Hampshire. So about a month ago, I did decide, after a lot of contemplation, to announce my candidacy for Congress in the 1st Congressional District, and I'm proud of that decision. I am going to work like I did in that mayor's race. I announced early for a reason. Despite the fact that my opponent has won twice in 06 and 08, albeit by small margins, I give her credit for being on the ballot and I give her credit for winning. But there are two things that are going to happen in this campaign that haven't happened in the past. You've got someone who starts out early, who's going to work in every part of this district. I will not take any area for granted. You are going to see me in the strongest Democratic strongholds in our state, campaigning for votes and support. No different than what I did as mayor. And secondly, you're going to see a new approach to Republican politics. First and foremost, let's restore our good name and our good fortune by getting back to basics. I'm going to run a campaign that talks about the things that we have believed in since the inception of our party, but things that I've enacted as mayor. And that is a smaller government, cutting expenses, cutting taxes, making your lives more affordable, making your lives more accountable by allowing yourselves to make decisions about your government. These are not things that we just talk about as a party, these are things that I've enacted as a mayor. And I will tell you, next year in November, I believe with your help, we will retake back not only the first CD, but you're going to see New Hampshire be restored to fiscal integrity, fiscal sanity, and fiscal discipline. But we have to do it by talking with our friends and neighbors, by challenging them, by inviting them to join our cause. This is more than just the Republican Party. This is more than just about going home, putting your head on a pillow and saying the Republican Party is bad. This is about a group of people who have to, because we don't have a choice, we have to take back our government and take back our country. And I'm asking you to join this cause. I'm asking you to put in some of your time and some of your effort, just as I am as a candidate. I not only want the right and the responsibility to respect and to reflect your views in Congress, but I want Congress and America to know that New Hampshire still sends a message about who it elects. That New Hampshire still is a guiding beacon for the rest of the country in terms of limited government and fiscal responsibility and taking care of our own. We need to send that message, and we need to do it each and every day. So as I continue on my campaign, this cause for our state, for our country, I ask you to join me. Not just by signing up at teamguinta.com, but spending a little time with your friends, your neighbors, talking to them about the importance of prosperity in our country.